does having a tattoo actually affect you socially and professionally? So according to Georgia Flynn of HelloGiggles.com, she wrote a really interesting piece about men and women having tattoos and people's perception of them because of their tattoos. And she said for her, it's a little bit more evident now because even though she has tattoos, she then got a more obvious tattoo or more of one in a more obvious placement on her lower arm. And this is what she writes in the article, quote, "One of the most common debates I find myself having with people is over my career. People argue that no one is ever going to hire me or take me seriously with a tattoo on my arm. And as a recent graduate, I get quite defensive over this topic. I firmly believe that a piece of art on one's body should not in any way stop someone from getting a career they have worked for and thoroughly deserve." She also talked about the fact in her piece that she believes that women, it's more taboo for them to have a tattoo than men, especially in the workplace. And then she finally concludes her article expressing the fact that she hopes that one day we can all embrace individuality and that people will be judged on their character and their skill set solely. Thoughts by Words or Less?
You tattoo you, boo.
Oh, I love that. Tattoos rarely turn me on.
Think before you ink.
Good.
Thank you.
No taboo should be taboo. So now let's talk about the fact with the article. And do you guys think, first and foremost, that tattoos are still, that there's still stigma attached to them?
I think that there definitely is a stigma, especially for women. I think because it's thought of as like a masculine thing to do. There's like a huge population of people who are in favor of tattoos. They love them and they don't judge, but I think a lot of employers do, and it's unfortunate because it goes beyond tattoos. I feel like people get judged by the way they look, the way they dress, what their hair is like, as opposed to what their skill is or what their intellect is. I'm not a huge fan of tattoos, but I would never let that stop me from getting to know someone or from hiring someone if I were an employer.
And I think it depends on the profession too, because I know with certain professions, whether it be you're a musician or you're a graphic designer, it's definitely more common, or an action sports star, it's much more common to have these tattoos and they're almost celebrated, as opposed to, for some reason, your brother just popped in my mind. If your brother, the DA, went into court and he had a neck tattoo or was sleeved, the jury would totally judge him.
Right, and I think that is okay for someone who is doing the hiring to factor that into what their business requires. Yeah. Because as a hirer for even a sales position, I'm not excusing the behavior of a prospective buyer who would judge a salesman based on having a tattoo sticking out of their sleeve. I just have to, I acknowledge that that exists, and so when I'm hiring someone, I want to do that. But I mean, a lot of lawyers and district attorneys will shave their facial hair, make sure that they all look the same. And you can have as many tattoos as you want in that case. They just need to be covered by your everyday garb.
What about neck tattoos? Is there ever a case in which a neck tattoo makes sense?
I love a good neck tattoo.
Really?
Oh, girl.
She loves tattoos. Speaking of you,
yes.
What about your tattoos?
Yeah,
what do they mean?
I have 8 tattoos, and I have like one really large one on my lower back. And for me, it's been taboo. It has, in the sense that, number one, people do not. They look at me and they don't think that I have tattoos, and that bothers me. And I think that's always bothered me. They see me as like someone with like a bubbly personality, and I'm blonde, and I wouldn't have, if I would have a tattoo, it would be like that of like a dolphin, and that pisses me off. I have more hardcore tattoos, and that's what I think is attractive.
Shark.
it's a great white shark. But I've gone out on certain gigs, and this was more so when I was doing, it was more like of an E-type show where I would have to be in my bathing suit some of the time because and the MTV show, because we were doing things that required like jet skiing and things like that. And they did not like my tattoo. They were so pissed. They didn't want me to have any tattoos, period. So we would have to cover them up. And that really made me sad. But then I think the more you get involved in your profession, like now, even with on HLN, CNN, they know I have tattoos and they think it's Sam, and they embrace it. But if I had sleeves, I wouldn't have been hired. Yeah. And that sucks.
You're way more strategic with your tattoos than most people. I think a lot of people do it without thinking about the consequences ahead of time.
The hell is that thing anyway? I don't know. I woke up after a 3-day bender driving a forklift and sporting it.
If you'd had like an entire sleeve, it'd be really difficult for you to succeed in the news business.
It's true.
Keeping it real.
You're absolutely right. But it is different between men and women, because we've had men on our show that work for HLN and CNN, and mind you, they wear dress shirts, but they're sleeved. There's this one guy, I love him so much, he comes on every Tuesday and Thursday, and he's fully sleeved, but then he'll wear his shirts like that, but then even sometimes he'll roll up his sleeves and like his actual dress sleeves, and you'll see his other sleeves underneath, and he gets away with it. And he's working on Entertainment Tonight now, but then if you were to look at a woman who's working on Entertainment Tonight, she couldn't get away with that, but he can. So there is a taboo when it comes to the difference between men and women.
I think it's evolving, but I do say that there is a branding element there. Like if someone is in like the action sports, or if they're in that industry, but also if someone's doing inspirational things and they have a backstory where it's like, I used to be a criminal and now I'm changing people's lives so I don't have to do that. It fits with their brand. And I also think women can embrace that too. I think that it's more difficult and it's harder, but I think that if you embrace that element of you and you can package it right, you can get away with it.
Yeah, like one example that comes to mind is Cara Santa Maria. Like, she has her tattoos, she shows them off all the time, and it's part of her brand. It works really, really well.